Now let's learn about the volume type called host path. Now the host path volume type is used when applications need to access the underlying host file system. Now again, it's used when an application wants to access the host file system, so the node file system. So it's very dangerous, bear in mind, because for example, if you give write access, then the application can actually mess up with your host, and you don't want that. So the recommended approach is to create a volume which is only read only. Unless the application needs to write, then you can allow to be read and write. Let me go ahead and show you how to use it. So if I go back to my terminal, so in here, what I want to show you is this use case. So let's go ahead and type together minikube and then SSH. So we want to SSH into our minikube node in here. And if I type ls, well, actually, let me just cd into root and then ls. So in here, you can see that this is the Linux file structure. Now, what I want to show you is inside of, so here, var. Let's look into cd and then var, ls. And then you can see that we have log. So let's cd into log as well. So oops, so cd log, ls. And here we have a bunch of logs. So we have container logs, we've got pod logs, so on and so forth. So usually applications, for example, they might want to mount this directory right here, so the host, to the actual application. So for example, you might want to collect logs, for example, right, or metrics about your node. So this is a perfect scenario. So here we have /var and then /log. So let's map this host path to one container. So here, let's go ahead and open up VS Code. And what I'm going to do is let's create. So we're going to create a new YAML. And here I'm going to say host and then path and then volume dot and then YAML, just like that. Again, let's use a deployment. And here I'm going to name this as host path. So the match labels, leave it as it is. And then for containers, I'm going to leave host path because I'm just going to use one container. Here again, let's use busy box. So I'm going to say busy and then box. And remember before, so if I go back to empty dir, we had this command right here. So command bin sh, let's just take all of this in here and let's go back to host path and let's just paste the command in there. And in here, in fact, we basically just need the command. So here, let's just do this. So here I'm going to say sleep, oops, so sleep, and then in here I'm going to say 3600 and then seconds. Then in here, we don't need the container ports because we're not exposing anything. And there we go. So now the way that the host path works is as follows. So still inside of specs. So here, let's go ahead and create our volume. So here, you remember you saw how to create volumes before. So here, let's just say that we want to name this as, so if I go back in here for a second, so var and then log, right? So we want to map or we want to mount this guy here. So let's just say here var dash and then log. And then here, if I press Control space, check this out. We have in here, so if I scroll down and in here we have host path. So represents a pre-existing file or directory on the host machine that is directly exposed to the container. So this is exactly what we're doing, right? So host path, and then you can see that we get the path, so we can fill it. Now the path is /var /log. Now let's go ahead and create volume mount. So here inside of this container, we can just say volume and then mount, and then in here we get basically auto completion. But in here, let's just say that we want to basically say that we want to mount inside of the same directory, so /var/log, and then the name is, so here, this is the name, so var-log. So let's take this, paste that, and there we go. And now let me go back to my terminal and let me just come out of this. So Control D, and now I'm going to say kubectl apply-f and then host path-volume.yaml. Enter. And there we go. So if I say kubectl get and then pods, and in here we should have, so where is it? So host path in here, it's pending, and I could have said watch, but it's fine. And now it should be running or still pending. Oh my goodness. So let's just stick a watch in there. So just like that, and still pending. So let's just have a look what is happening. So let's just get that kubectl describe pod, and then the name of the pod, clear the screen, enter, and check this out. So warning, so failed scheduling, and then insufficient, and then 0 out of 2 nodes are available, 2 insufficient CPU. So basically we ran out of resources. So this is interesting. So what we're going to do is the following. So here I'm going to say kubectl get pods, and for now let's just get rid of everything. So kubectl delete -f and then dot, and there we go. So basically it deleted everything, and it's also deleting the green pod, and soon we should have no resources. And of course, there we go. So this works. Now we are clean. So now we should have some resources. So this was fun. So there we go. So now, and by the way, if you want to increase the number of resources that Minikube takes, you can do it. But for now, I think let's just keep it as it is, because I don't need all of those pods. So now let's just run kubectl and then apply-f host path volume.yaml. And then let me stick a watch in there. So -w, and you can see that this was super quick, right? So now we have resources. So Kubernetes is awesome. So now let's take this pod. So Command C, kubectl exec -it, and then pass the pod, and then --sh, and there we go. Now we are inside. Now if I say cd, so ls actually, and then cd into var, and then ls, we have log. So let's cd into log ls and have a look. So these files are coming from the host, So let me just clear the screen and then open up a new shell, Minikube, and then SSH, and here cd var, or actually /var, and then log. There we go, ls, and you can see that. So if I ls in here as well, so these files are the same in here, right? So we have every single file in folder. So here, if I say, for example, touch, and then foo.bar, and if I say sudo, and then exclamation mark twice to get the previous command, there we go. And in here, if I type ls, and it seems that it's not in here, and I think I know what is happening. So Control D for a second, and let's just say kubectl describe pod, and there we go. So I want to show you the node that this pod is running. So have a look. So node Minikube, and then 02. So it's actually on the other node. So you can see that. That's why we didn't see this file in here when we did an ls. So let's just in here. So what we're going to do is let's go back to our pod. So here, exec IT, there we go. And in here, let's just come out of this node, and then I'm gonna say minikube, and then SSH-N for the node, and then I think it was minikube-M02, just like that, enter, and there we go. So I'm inside of the second node. Now cd/var/ and then log. There we go. And in here, I want to do the same. So cd/var/log ls. And there we go. So we've mounted in here the host. So the contents of the second host. So minikube-m02 into this container in here running inside of this pod, right? Now here, check this out. If I say again, so let's say touch foo.bar, and I forgot the sudo command, so sudo, there we go. And now on this pod, let's just type ls, and now we should see it. Have a look, there we go. So now you can see that it's there because we are on the right node. Now one last thing that I want to show you is, remember in here I said that it should be read only. So the way to do it is as follows. So basically where we have the volume mounts, here I can say read only, and in here let me just get the auto completion. So again, you can see that mounted read only if true, read write otherwise false or unspecified. So basically we want it to be read only, so we're going to say true. There we go. Now, if the application wants to write to this specific path, it's impossible to do it. It can only read. So there you have it. This is how you use the host path volume type. Now, where you might see this is, for example, let me show you. So in here, I've got this documentation for Instana, and basically Instana, it's an agent that collects metric from your host, right? From your nodes, pods, so on and so forth. And in here, have a look, volume mounts, and look, they mount a bunch of things here. So dev, run, sys, var log, as we've done. You can also mount files like this. So in here, like this, and then the volumes. So in here, so the volumes, have a look, volumes dev, run, and basically it's the exact same thing that we've just done in here. And you can see configuration, for example, so on and so forth. So there you have it. I'm going to leave this link in the description of this video so you can have a look at this YAML file and see it for yourself. But this is everything about host path. If you have any questions, drop me a message. Otherwise, let's move on.